We're starting Be'ez Hashem Vayoel Moshe Siman Lamed Ches, and the subject is the apparent contradiction in the Rambam between the Yigeres Teimon and the Yad HaChazaka. The Yigeres Teimon, the Rambam says that Mashiach will do miracles, and in Yad HaChazaka he says no. He says, don't think that Mashiach is going to do any miracles. No. You see, Ben Koziva was a possible Mashiach even though they didn't ask him to do any miracles. So you see that there is a apparent contradiction here. So the Rebbe starts out, Omnam b'ma'at hispoinus ein shum stira b'dvarav. If you look into it a little bit, you'll realize that there's no contradiction here, because the gam b'sefer Yad kasav acher kach bilchus malachim perek yibes. He says even in Yad HaChazaka, the Rambam also says that Mashiach will be someone who can do supernatural things. He'll be a Navi, and he'll be able to tell things that people won't be able to tell. Take a look. Perek Yud Beis, the last perek of the Rambam says, She Navi, that Mashiach will be a prophet. She is Kabtzu Elav Kol Yisrael. The whole Jewish people will gather to him, and V'yisyachzu kulam al piv, V'ruach HaKodesh Tanuach alav. That with his Ruach HaKodesh, he'll be able to tell every Yid what Shevet they're from, and whether they're a Levi or a Cohen. V'hevi al zeh HaKosav, and he brings down a proof to this from the pasuk. Ad Amoed HaKohen L'urim B'tumim. That this is a pasuk in I think in Nehemiah, that there were some people who came back from Galus after Galus Babel, and they were Kohanim. They claimed to be Kohanim, but they didn't have any Yichus Brief. They didn't have like a star, a good document to prove that they were Kohanim. So Nehemiah told them that they're not allowed to eat from the Kachim and the Beis HaMikdash until they could bring proof, or until it says Ad Amoid HaKohen L'Urim V'Tumim, until a Kohen gets up who has the Urim V'Tumim. Because as we know, in Bayis Sheni there was no Urim V'Tumim. The Urim V'Tumim was put away by Yoshiyahu Melech at the end of Bayis Rishon. Yes. And therefore there was no Urim V'Tumim, and he said until a Kohen comes with the Urim V'Tumim. And Umuva b'Chesef Mishneh Sham Divrei Atosefta She'amru Ad Amoy HaKohen L'Urim V'Tumim Ka'adam She'omer L'Chaveru Ad Sheyavo Mashiach. That the Tosefta explains this pasuk to mean that it's like saying until Mashiach comes, because basically until Mashiach comes we're not going to have back the Urim V'Tumim. But when Mashiach comes, we will have it back, and Mashiach he'll be the king. So the king has the right to use the Urim V'Tumim to ask questions. So Mashiach will be the one who uses Urim V'Tumim. Okay, Umavur Bazeh, and we see from this Sheyiyeh biyadoi Urim V'Tumim, that Mashiach will have in his hands this powerful Urim V'Tumim, who will be able to tell things that nobody else could tell. Shehu Gadol min Nevuah, it's even greater than prophecy. Why? How do you see it's greater than prophecy? Sha'af b'mei Ezra, that even in the time of Ezra, when they had prophecy, they didn't have Urim V'Tumim. Af b'mei Ezra shahayu neviim gedolim. There were great neviim then. There was Chagai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Yeah. And still, lo yachlu lahayid al yichusei kuhuna. These prophets weren't able to tell which people were kohanim, which people weren't. Yan shlo yahay biyadam Urim V'Tumim. They couldn't do it because they didn't have the Urim V'Tumim. The Urim V'Tumim bevadai hu neis nifla. It's an amazing miracle. It's not just, it's not natural. The things light up and they tell you the answer to your question. It's mehaniflois hagadoyla shahayu ba'olam. It's one of the greatest wonders of the world. So if Mashiach is going to have that, obviously he's not going to be a totally natural person, right? Okay, next raya. Ubeperek tes milchus tshuva. Another raya that the Rambam holds that Mashiach will have amazing powers, even in the Yad HaChazaka. He says, Perek tes milchus tshuva kasav oid al melech HaMashiach sheyeh bal chachma yoiser mishloimoi. He'll be a wiser than Shlomo Melech. The Navi Gadol hu karv l'Moshe Rabbeinu. He'll be a great Navi, almost as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. Ulefichach Yelamed Kol Ha'am, he'll teach all the people. V'yoyra Oisam Derech Hashem, he'll teach them the way of Hashem. V'yavoyu Kol HaGoyim Lishmoy Eloi. Even the Goyim will come and listen to him. Im Kein Chazilin Bar, we see clearly Shegam b'Sefer Yad. Even in the Rambam's Yad HaChazaka, Daitoi, his opinion is Sheyiyeh Melech HaMashiach Navi Gadol Yoiser Mikol HaNeviim, that he'll be a greater Navi than all the other Neviim. Ad Karv L'Moshe Rabbeinu Olav Hashalom, almost as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. So it's exactly the same as what he says in the letter to Yemen. V'gam kasav. The Rambam also says, "Sheyavoyu kol hagoyim lishmoy Eloi." All the goyim will come to listen to the Melech HaMashiach. Shezeh v'aday einu derech hateva. That if he would just be a natural person, just a tzaddik, a talmid chacham, it wouldn't be natural that the goyim would come listening to him, right? Sheyavoyu kol hagoyim lishmoy el adam echad miYisrael. V'kvar kasav harambam zal b'hilchos Yisrael HaTorah perek zayin. So now he's going to say another proof that Mashiach has to be something more than just a regular person, because it says, the Rambam says that when he talks about the rules of prophecy, he says she'ena nevuah chala ela al chacham gadol b'chachma. Only on the nevuah can only come on somebody who is a great chacham and gibor b'midoisav, and he's strong in his character traits. V'lo yehei yitzroi misgaber alav, and he doesn't let his yetzer hara control him. V'davar ba'olam, anything. Elahu misgaber b'daitoi al yitzroi tamid. He's always conquering his yetzer hara. V'hu miskadesh v'hoilech, and he's very holy and he separates himself. Porish midarchi klal ha'am. V'hoilech u'mizarez atzmoi u'melamed nafshoi shaloi teheloi machshav klal be'echad midvarim b'telin. That he's on such a high level that he doesn't have any thoughts about any mundane matters. V'loi b'havli azman v'tach b'loisav, not just worldly things. The herich oid b'dvarim ko'elu. The Rambam goes on at length to explain what the madrega of a person has to be before he can reach nevuah. Ad shekasav levasoif al navi. The Rambam says afterwards that regarding a navi that when Hashem picks this person to be a prophet for the first time, that he gets a sign that he has to do. That people should know that Hashem sent him truthfully, and he's not a faker. And what's the Oisim Moifis? He's going to say that it means that the Navi foretells some events, and we see if it comes true. Okay? He says, but don't think that just anybody could just predict the future and be right, and then all of a sudden we believe he's a prophet. He's got to be somebody that we already knew was on the madrega for nevuah before that. With his wisdom, and with his actions, that he's greater than all the people like him, people from his time. And he's walking in these ways that we just said before that the Navi has to be, the level that the Navi has to be on, with his holiness, his separateness from the world. And then if such a person comes and foretells the future, and correctly foretells the future, mitzvah lishmoya mimenu. It's a mitzvah to listen to this Navi. Ad kan l'shoinai. So that's the Rambam in Yisrael Torah. V'chein kasavoy b'perek asiri. There, and also in Yisrael Torah, in chapter 10, the Rambam says, Shekol Navi shiyamoid lanu. Any Navi who gets up and says, V'yoymar Hashem shalcha, he says, Hashem sent me. Oymrim lo, we say to him, Im Navi ata, emor dvarim asidim liyois. If you're a Navi, tell us some future events. V'hu oymar, and he tells us. V'yonim mechakim liyois, and then we wait to see, hayavoy dvarim lo yavoy. We wait to see if it comes true or not. And even if one thing that he said doesn't come true, then he's a false Navi. Okay? So where is he leading with all this? He's trying to show us that Mashiach, if he's going to be a Navi, he's going to have to tell the future first. So otherwise we can't accept him as a Navi, and we can't accept him as Mashiach. Yeah. So he can't just be a regular guy who just says, okay, I'm Mashiach, I'm leading a war, and that's that. Has to be someone who is a Navi and has miraculous powers. The Rambam says afterwards, we check this Navi many times to make sure that he's telling it, that he's accurately predicting the future. If every single time he's right, then he's a true Navi. If so, Kivan Shekasav Rambam Zal, Shamelech HaMashiach Yed Navi Gadol, if the Rambam is saying that Mashiach is going to have to be a great prophet, Kol Kach, such a great prophet, so Al Korch She's Nasa V'Oisim Moifis, of course he's going to be tested with these kind of signs and wonders. But Sirif Kol Amidas Anal, in addition to all the things that Mashiach has to be on the Madrega before he can even be a Navi. Shemuchach liyos benavi, right? V'im kein adavar baruch shemasha kasav batchila she'ein tzarich lasas oisim oisim. So when the Rambam says in Perek Yud Aleph of Hilchos Malachim that the Mashiach doesn't have to do any miracles, he doesn't have to change the world, or bring the dead back to life. He just means that Mashiach won't have to do any miracles that change the world. Miracles like this, that change the nature of the world.
Yeah.
The dead coming back to life. Those things may happen in the future, but not when he first comes. Yeah? Of course, that the Mashiach himself will be an amazing person who will be able to do supernatural things. He'll have powers of Nevuah. So now he's going to bring a source from the Rambam, a third source that puts them both together. So far we had the Yad HaChazaka and the Yigeres Teman. Now he's going to show there's a third place where the Rambam brings both things in one breath, basically.
So it just means that Mashiach will predict things supernatural, not do anything by hand.
Right. He'll predict and he'll know things like Moirech V'dayim, like we said, that he'll be able to smell.
Right, concerning a dispute.
So that's also similar to Nevuah. It's like knowing something that people don't know with supernatural powers.
Uh-huh.
But that's where it stops. We'll take a look. Pirush Mishnayos, Perek Chelik, last Perek of Sanhedrin. The Rambam says a whole explanation of Mashiach, and in the midst of it, he says, in the same breath, he says both of these things. He says that Mashiach will do miraculous things, but he won't change the teva. Take a look. Al Melech HaMashiach v'yigdal shmoi. He says his name will become great, his reputation. V'zichroi yiyeh moloi hagoyim. All the goyim will know about him. Yoiser min HaMelech Shlomo, more famous than Shlomo Melech. V'yashlimu itoi kol ha'umois. All the nations of the world will make peace with him. V'yavduhu kol ha'aratzos, and they'll all serve him with tzidkoi hagadol because of his great righteousness. And now ulaniflois sheyu al yadai, because of the miracles that will happen through him. Right? Yeah. But then right afterwards, v'lo yishtana b'metzias shum davar. No part of nature of the world will change. Mimashahu ata. So clearly, the Rambam is saying the Mashiach will do miraculous things, but nothing about the world will change. Just that the fact that the Jews will have a kingship. That's the only thing that'll be different. V'harei, and that's the famous memory of Shmuel, by the way, in Shas. What I was going to say is that Shmuel says, "Ein bein ha'olam hazeh l'mois Mashiach el shibu machlis bilvad." The only difference between now and when Mashiach comes is going to be that we're not going to be under the Malchus. We're going to have our own Malchus.
Yeah.
So that's what the Rambam is really echoing here. But that's the greatest proof against the Tzionim, because the Tzionim say that even before Mashiach comes, we can have Aleph Shiva Malchus. And that member is saying, no, Ein Bein, that only when Mashiach comes we're going to get Aleph Shiva Malchus. So that's the end of the quote from the Rambam. But so the Rebbe says on this, you see the Rambam says that there are going to be a lot of miracles, Shiyu Nasim Al Yadai, that will take place through him. The nature of the world won't change. Yeah, there's no contradiction anymore. That it's basically understood everything now, so you don't have to go into all the details of the Yad HaChazaka, because the basic answer is understood now. Okay? Yeah.